Coming up this weekend, we have a clash of styles as Poland's Krzysztof Jotko, representing American top team, is going to be taking on another guy that's fought out of a gym in South Florida recently. We have GM3 Gerald Meerschaert, who's been training with Mike Perry at Fusion XL. That's real. And also Philip Rowe trains there, and Jacare Souza, but we haven't really seen him in many of the pictures. So for GM3, I mean, what crazy stat do you want first? Do you want the fact that right now he leads middleweights all time with submission victories? Kind of crazy. More than Damian Maia ever had in his tenure. And right now, if you do look at it, he's tied for 5th all time with most submission wins in UFC history. If you look at it, he's also tied for 2nd of all time with most middleweight finishes behind Anderson Silva's 11. Gerald Meerschaert has 9. All of Gerald Meerschaert's wins in the UFC are by finish, by the way. He has a 9-5 record with 4 performance bonuses to his name and a few split decision losses too, like one's to Kevin Holland. And if you look at it, the 5 on in, I mean, he's got a loss to Ian Heinisch by knockout. That was Bangkok-ready Heinisch. A quick knockout loss to Khamzat Chimaev, but then he beat Bartosz Fabinski. And then he beat Mahmoud Muradov. And then his last time out, he beat Dustin Stoisfuss in the 3rd round of that fight by submission as well. So I don't know, Gerald Meerschaert, all-time middleweight in some regards. Like, it's kind of crazy that way. And Krzysztof Jotko, is he the best fighter to have a 10-5 record in the UFC that's just passed by in complete silence?
Without a doubt. I have an NBA comp for Gerald Meerschaert that I think is too spot on. He is the UFC's Robert Horry. Robert Horry has 5 titles, but never averaged more than 15 points per game in his whole entire career. He has 5 NBA titles, though. You don't get those by accident. You have to serve a very good role. And what does Gerald Meerschaert do to win his fights? He goes, hey,
Steve Nash.
He goes, hey, that's a really nice mistake you're going to make. I'm going to capitalize on it. Just like Robert Horry did with all those big shots he made in all those different playoff series. So for Meerschaert, he's kind of the perfect fighter of, I'm going to eat a lot of shots if I have to, I'm going to use my cardio, and not in the way that you think he's going to. He's going to kind of Homer Simpson his cardio. He has very good staying power, he's a good wrestler, and he's a phenomenal grappler, so guys are going to want to take him down. And he forces guys who are better strikers than him to shoot on him at a certain point, just because his pressure gets to guys, and that's always very interesting. Now, the weird thing about this fight is Gerald Meerschaert better grappler than Krzysztof Jotko? Of course he is. He's a better grappler than most people in the middleweight division. I just don't look at Jotko as the type of guy who's going to tire as this fight goes on, because most fights you go, okay, can Meerschaert win the first round? Probably not, but we'll see what it looks like in the 2nd and 3rd with his jiu-jitsu and with his cardio. In this fight, though, I just think unless he gets on top of Jotko in round 1 and can finish him, I don't think he can outpace Jotko. I don't think he can cut the cage off to start to close in the distance on Jotko. And the thing about Krzysztof Jotko is that he's not some flashy striker that's going to knock you out with a spinning wheel kick. He might throw a spinning wheel kick, but he's not the most powerful guy with all of his really nice techniques. So more than likely he's going to win one of those classic 30-26s just because his volume's like through the roof in one round. But stylistically, I just think this is a terrible matchup for pro Gerald Meerschaert.
The craziest part about it is very, very pro Gerald Meerschaert channel here, and really get excited about his fights. Ultimately, we did see him compete in one Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, taking on Ryan James. That was Meerschaert's 2nd time out with the UFC. He won that RFA belt before he made his UFC debut. And again, Ryan James, it was a short time, but it was a good time in the UFC. He left on a win. But if you look at it for Gerald Meerschaert, he hadn't been favored to win a fight from the Eric Spicely win, where he won a bonus, to his last time out. Wow. So kind of crazy to see that. For Krzysztof Jotko, his last time out, wins by split decision over a tricky Canadian fighter in Misha Cirkunov, where Cirkunov was rinse and repeat-ish with his takedowns, but he didn't do any damage. He didn't really threaten with many submissions. And Jotko landed some amount of volume. It was a very forgettable fight by a guy who was 10-5 in the UFC. But Matt, the craziest part about it for me is you look at Krzysztof Jotko, you look at all of those wins. 1 performance bonus, 1 finish in 10 wins. Like, you don't see Krzysztof Jotko winning by finish. And again, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Those go back 3 years. It's the loss to Sean Strickland. You look at the other 3 losses that he had bang, bang, bang in a row. David Branch, who did the wrestling but not much with it. Uriah Hall, who finished Jotko. Brad Tavares finished Krzysztof Jotko. Kind of crazy.
Which is wild, because Brad Tavares hadn't finished anyone since your boy, the New York City badass.
Phil Baroni.
And it had been a while.
Never forget.
But that's the thing about Jotko. He can use his movement better than most guys in this division. He fights like someone much lighter than he is. He might not have the pop on his shots, but he's basically middleweight's Caitlin Chookagian. And Caitlin Chookagian at this weight class isn't fighting for titles, but is probably good enough to beat someone like Gerald Meerschaert and not get submitted.
So Jotko opened a plus 105. He's minus 164 on best fight odds. Another fight where the odds have flipped since they opened. Meerschaert opened to minus 125. Plus 156 or thereabouts. We have a look on Tapology. Votes are a surprise to us, there to you. I'm going to say over under 60% Meerschaert.
I think he'll be the favorite, and I'll say over.
You're going to say over the fan. Ooh, look at that. I said 60. 59% of 583 total votes going with Meerschaert. 78% by submission. For the 41% that have Jotko, 79% by decision. 13% on Planet Wild, saying that he's going to win by knockout. Matt, I think Krzysztof Jotko will win a decision based on his great side-to-side movement. He is one of the few fighters that you ever see behind the black line, moving great side-to-side, defending takedowns, and adding up volume. It is the least fun style to watch.
I was just about to say, we have never sat here and gone, hey, you know what we should do? Put a Krzysztof Jotko fight in a fight of the night screen. Never. Never once crossed my mind. I respect the style, and it's not like he's eating a lot of damage, which is great for him. But at a certain point, you are going to just become the Elias Theodoro of, like, no one really cares how many wins you have. Like, you're not going to get into the rankings. Fighting like this, the UFC's not really going to do you any favors or match you up favorably from this point on. So he might win this fight, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't really think he's going to do that much for his career.
Be a dog's breakfast if Krzysztof Jotko gets the win, but we're going to assume that that might happen. And for Gerald Meerschaert, this guy's a baller, and I love his submission. So, Matt, listen, fans going with Meerschaert, the odds have flipped. Let us know who you have, because I know there is a big contingent of Fight Night Picks fans out there who are big Meerschaert fans. We want to hear from you. Unfortunately for you and for everybody else, we're going with Poland Jotko in this one, but it should be an interesting fight at middleweight nonetheless. Coming up on this card, if you missed it, Alexandr Romanov taking on Chase Sherman, banger. And in the main event, a real banger, you have Rob Font taking on Chito Marlon Vera. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.